We might just talk about another boneheaded penalty in rapid fire. I'm looking into my crystal ball. I'm looking into my 8-ball right now. Are you ready for rapid fire, Trevor?
Sure am.
So we've got another comment from Marcus Freeman to start off rapid fire. And I got a couple comments from the chat here that I've got queued up as well. Jordan Clark, of course, drew the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty against Louisville after Cardinal receiver Chris Bell spit on him in that game, and then Clark threw him the headbutt. Marcus Freeman discussed that at his press conference today.
You got to put team glory in front of yourself. And Jordan Clark would be the first one that tells you, and it's tough. You know, sometimes people test your manhood, but you still have to be able to put team before me. And I know we've had long conversations. He regrets the penalty. He regrets his response. Nobody's worth 15 yards. And it's such a challenging situation to have to do that, right? I think we're all innate selfish people. I think we're all naturally that way. But in that moment, and there's moments in every game that you have to put your team before yourself. And you have to let things go. And that was my message to the entire team and to Jordan. Like, as you move forward in life, there's going to be times, this is bigger than the game of football, you're going to have to let some things go because of what can happen in that situation, right? It's not going to be the outcome that you want. And so I thought it was a great teaching opportunity by a guy that cares about the team. He does. And he had just a selfish moment. He knows that, but love him. And he owned it, as I said, like Adon did the week before. You owned it, but we got to continue to learn from it. But he has to understand that football is just a reflection of life, that in times you're going to have to let some things go and put maybe the greater good of your family, your kids, your wife in front of yourself, because what you don't want to do is make a decision that's going to negatively impact a lot of people.
I feel like another T-shirt's coming on. Nobody's worth 15 yards. Like,
Yeah.
put that on a T-shirt, put it up in the Goog, put it up on the walls, wherever. Nobody is worth 15 yards. Are you good with all that? Do you like how Marcus Freeman laid out the case there against the unsportsmanlike penalty on Jordan Clark?
Yeah, I think it was a great answer by Freeman for a multitude of different reasons. One, I do appreciate that he acknowledged that Jordan Clark was wronged in that situation, because it would have been very easy to just dive in and say, you can't put yourself before the team and you got to be better than that because at Notre Dame, this isn't what we do. And all of that would be true 100%. But mind you, I would also not have handled it well if somebody spit in my face. I'm also not a scholarship athlete at Notre Dame. So I understand the response.
But when you're a 21, 22-year-old man, young man, and you're full of testosterone, like, I get it. I get how you would be ticked off at that. But like a headbutt for a spit, because, I think Vince and I were the ones talking about it last week. It's always the second guy who gets caught. And especially when the second guy is headbutting and the first guy is spitting. No one's going to see the spit, but everyone's going to see that headbutt.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just in moments like that, that's why I think Marcus Freeman made such a perfect point of like, this isn't going to be the last time that you get tested like this, in life, as a man, as anybody. And it's certainly not going to be the last time that they get tested as a football team. Hey, you're Notre Dame. Everybody comes in. They want to be chippy with you. They want to play you that way. So, it's tough. I can respect the answer. I think he answered it really well. I get where Jordan Clark is coming from also. So, it's tough. But you got to, in those situations, you just got to think big picture and put yourself above, put the team above yourself.
No, that's exactly right. And with age comes wisdom, and I know, again, I know it's hard sometimes, especially when you are young, but because Marcus Freeman was, sometimes you just got to know when to walk away, basically. And that's the tough part, It's like I think that everyone, especially if you're a competitive person, and like anyone who's played sports, especially college level and above, you expect them to be very competitive. And I know that it can be hard to walk away from those situations. Like there've been plenty of times in my own personal life where it's like you just feel like Freeman said, sometimes you just got to know when to let it go. And it's tough sometimes when to learn or when to know when to let it go. And that is the toughest thing. And the great thing is, okay, now you got a learning lesson. You just got to know next time that you can't do that, because the thing that opponents are going to know now is, look, if you keep coming at Jordan Clark with whatever trash talk or, maybe it's a loogie or whatever else, like you can get inside his head and you can get him to react. And that's where Jordan Clark is just going to have to know that he's got to be the bigger man in that situation and just turn your back, walk away. And the best medicine is at the end of the game when you can point at the scoreboard and you walk off the field with a win. That's just what it comes down to.
100%.
Do you buy or sell either Beaux Collins or Jaden Greathouse getting to 500 receiving yards this season, Trevor?
Yeah, I'd buy that for sure. I mean, Notre Dame still has 7 games left. Beaux Collins right now is sitting at 181 yards. So broken down, that's a little bit more than 45 receiving yards. So, but both have the ability to 100%. The passing game needs to open up, which is going to be another thing that I'm going to be evaluating under a microscope over these next 3 weeks until bye week number 2.
Yep.
So, I absolutely think that 500 yards is absolutely attainable.
I think they're both going to get there. The pace right now is, I think Collins is somewhere, it's like 425 or 435 over the course of a 12-game schedule. I mean, of course, we're talking about 12 games, that we're talking about, that they get there.
Right.
But it does feel like, again, incrementally, these last 2 games, the passing game has come to life. Collins had the long touchdown pass 2 games ago against Miami. Greathouse had the long touchdown pass 2 weeks ago against Louisville. It's like there's signs of life. They've got a pull. The passing game has a pulse. It feels like it is starting to come around. And I feel like there is just, between Riley Leonard and the guys in that room, there's just too much talent for there not to be a whole lot left in the tank for these guys over the course of the final 7 games of the regular season. So I think they both get there.
Yeah.
To at least 500.
Yeah, 100%. I like that.
So Trevor, what did you end up doing and or watching the most without Notre Dame playing this weekend? I know you had apartment moving. That sounded like great excitement. Anything else that was on the docket for you this weekend?
Yeah, so this weekend we actually on Sunday we went to the Bengals-Ravens game in Cincinnati.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So that was a lot of fun. Saturday was a lot of college football. And then Saturday evening, watching Glorious Bastards, because we talked about it last week. So
nice.
Yeah. It was
Where'd
good.
you find it?
I rented it on Amazon.
Okay.
So yeah, it was good.
Very nice. I haven't seen that in a while. I'm going to have to cue that up. We actually went to see Beetlejuice Saturday afternoon.
How was it?
I thought it was pretty good. I think I had a little bit higher expectations. My wife really wasn't into it, but I got a birthday coming up this week, and so like the AMC, I'm on that, like the AMC Points Club or whatever, and so they gave me a free tub of popcorn. I'm like, my wife, she had like furniture shopping and all this different stuff that she wanted to do, and I'm like, look, I want to watch a little football.
Yeah.
At noon Saturday, I want to go get my free tub of popcorn because Sunday is going to be NFL and baseball playoffs. So I want to go get my free tub. I want to see Beetlejuice. This is, it's our only free weekend until, the end of the month. Want to go to a movie, get my free popcorn. So that's what we did. It was solid. It wasn't, like I wouldn't give it an 8. I would give it, I think some of the reviews, I'm seeing kind of in the sevens range, somewhere around there. That's probably where I'd put it. It was decent enough. So we did that on Saturday. Watched plenty of college football on Saturday. Watched baseball playoffs both Saturday and Sunday. Mets Phillies. I watched most of both of those games. Those were awesome. Are you into baseball at all? I haven't even asked you that.
Not as much as I am football, no, but I've been keeping track. I always start to keep track around baseball playoff time. So
okay. Two great Mets Phillies games, both yesterday and Saturday, and my Royals are in the playoffs. So unfortunately, that game was, they went back and forth a little bit, but they ended up losing to the Yankees. So I watched that. I'm like flipping back and forth between Royals, Yankees, and Vandy, Alabama, like the end of the Vandy, Alabama game. It's like there was so much going on as it turned out. So great. And then yesterday, the NFL starts with the London game, Jets and Vikings at 9:30 in the morning. And of course, I'm a Cowboys fan. I don't know if you knew that, but the game is delayed almost an hour and a half. So it gets done after 1 a.m. yesterday. So I didn't watch every game throughout the day, but I watched parts of the 9:30 game and then a lot of NFL yesterday with some more baseball playoffs mixed in. So
good deal.
It's quite enjoyable.
Can't complain about that. So what day is the birthday?
Wednesday. Wednesday is the birthday.
Okay.
Yes.
Good deal. Happy early birthday.
Thank you. Today is actually Jesse's fiance's birthday as well. So I doubt Naomi's watching, but happy birthday. Fill in the blank. This weekend's college football action makes you still feel blank about Notre Dame's college football playoff chances.
Good. This weekend, I was always on the train that if Notre Dame wins out, I think that they were going to make it regardless. Now, what it did show me is that most teams above, most teams that will be ranked ahead of Notre Dame in the playoff, if there's anything that this weekend showed me in college football is that any team is beatable. I mean, that is one thing that I think. Now, I'm not saying that Notre Dame will be that team because there's kinks that Notre Dame has to work out too, like you and I have talked about a lot, and like Brian and I have talked about a lot. But this year, I think college football right now is wide open. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, especially this upcoming weekend. It's another really good slate of games.
Yeah, I mean, it made me more optimistic. Like to think that if Alabama, the number one team in the country, can lay an egg the week after, beating Georgia the way they did, I guess, even though they had to, they got up 28-0 on Georgia, even if they ultimately gave up a lead late in the game. But if they can lay an egg after that, and then if Tennessee can go lay an egg with everything that Tennessee, like I was actually buying into Tennessee a little bit. And then here comes the old Razorbacks, so like, I just feel like that happening. USC lost again. Like, not that really has playoff impact, but the fact that, Michigan went out to Washington, like it just felt like a week that, okay, like as easy as it is to beat up on Notre Dame for some things, like some of these things actually went the other way. And like other teams that are supposed to be elite as well suffered some of the same stuff. So made me feel much more optimistic about Notre Dame's playoff chances after seeing some of that turmoil this weekend for some other programs.
I agree. I think it even it made me feel better about what Notre Dame's chances are to like make it through the playoffs, not just make it to the playoffs. I mean, every team so far this year has shown glaring weaknesses that are in the top 12. Right? I mean, Penn State struggled, I think, against Bowling Green, and Ohio State struggled for a first half against Iowa, putting up 7 points. Oregon struggled against Idaho in week 1 and hasn't looked like what everybody thought that they would have. I mean, Miami right now, in my opinion, is closer to being, 3-2 than they are 5-0 or 4-2, whether, not 6-0. I mean, they've had 2 games so far this year that should have been losses. Now, you can also credit the team for coming back and getting those wins, but there are, I don't want to say glaring issues, but there's no team this year that you just watch and you're like, yeah, they're winning. Now, to be honest with you, if there is that team, it's probably Ohio State right now. But there's no team that you can look far and away and just say, you know what, this team is going to win the national championship. So.
Yep. I agree with that. Does Vanderbilt beating Bama mean any less considering it's Kalen DeBoer's Tide and not Nick Saban's Tide?
No, I don't think so. Look, Vanderbilt historically is just not a good football school. And I understand that it's not Nick Saban there anymore, but I might have had a different answer if Alabama didn't beat Georgia 7 days prior to losing to Vanderbilt. So, no, I don't think it means any less. I mean, Vandy, just doesn't beat ranked opponents like that.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Lane Kiffin, did you see the video where Lane Kiffin stopped his post-game press conference so that he could watch that last Vanderbilt drive when they were trying to ice it with a couple of first downs? He's like, this is, this is history. This doesn't happen. Vanderbilt 0-60 previously against top 5 teams, first top 5 win ever, let alone a number 1 win, the most points against Alabama since 1906. So it doesn't matter who the head coach is, this was, especially from a Vanderbilt perspective, this was monumental. This was historic. And the fact that it's Vanderbilt and Alabama, you literally have the most, the signature program, you can talk about Georgia and, more, championships recently, but Alabama, obviously, traditionally, when you go back, they are the flagship program of basically the current SEC. And at the other end of the spectrum is Vanderbilt, who, let's just face it, Vanderbilt struggles in the SEC because they're the private institution and everything that they've got to compete against in that conference. It's much tougher for them, and so the fact that you have that beating that, it doesn't matter who the head coach, because again, Alabama was still just a week removed from a massive win against Georgia. To me, the fact that 40 points is the most points Alabama, that, because Alabama's had some lean years in there too from time to time. And the fact that they had never even given up 40 points, that seems amazing to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like taking away wins from a team because they have a coach or don't have a coach. Speaking of having a coach, shout out to Clark Lee for getting Vanderbilt the biggest win in program history. But yeah, I mean,
I hear he used to coach at Notre Dame. I don't know if you knew that.
Something along those lines. He was in South Bend for a little bit or something.
Right.
But look, I mean, when somebody says SEC, the first team that pops into their mind is Alabama. I mean, over the last, decade and a half, especially. And when people talk about the SEC has weaknesses and not every single team is a gauntlet to run through, the first team they mention is Vanderbilt. So, I mean, you want to talk about a true David and Goliath, whatever. You can't even talk about home field advantage. Half of the stadium were Alabama fans.
Yeah.
That stadium was red. So it was awesome to see. It was awesome.
It reminded me of the days of my youth back when Nebraska and Oklahoma were both, perennial top 10 teams and competing for national championships, and they would just converge on the state of Kansas, because they would basically alternate, one would go to Kansas, the other would go to Kansas State when both of those programs were just god awful year in and year out. The only wins that they would have would be the one game that they played against each other, that kind of, it's Nebraska and Oklahoma would just invade those stadiums every year. That's exactly what it was like, maybe not quite to that extent at Vanderbilt, but still a lot more Alabama Tide fans down there.
100%.
So the SEC fined Vanderbilt and Arkansas for their field storming after their wins over Alabama and Tennessee. Vandy's fine was $100,000, Arkansas $250,000 because it was a repeat offense. Is it worth the money?
I think so. I think so. Maybe it's just I don't know. I think it is. Let them celebrate. Now, I mean, tearing down the goalposts. It's Vandy. I understand. I understand Vanderbilt doing that completely. Like, this is the biggest win in program history. Yeah, you parade the uprights through downtown Nashville.
See, and this is what I was going to say with Tyler. Tyler says he's pretty sure Jerry Jones covered the Arkansas fine. I hadn't seen that, but if that's true, like if I'm a deep pocketed donor, like I'm just, it's like that's like how it's like Halloween candy, basically throwing out $100,000, $250,000. Like if I'm a rich donor,
Sure.
I'm writing that check and I'm sending it in to the alma mater to cover that, because like it's worth every penny. It's again, if you're Vanderbilt, to come up with a win like that, like whatever it takes, whatever damage is done to the stadium, whatever they've got to pay, it is worth every penny to say that we're Vanderbilt. We just beat Alabama when they were the number 1 team in the nation. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely worth the money. And in like the grants that I think $100,000 is a lot of money because I don't have
sure.
$100,000.
But again, if I'm a billionaire, like,
Sure.
Jerry Jones or whoever it happens to be, and I'm donating, millions of dollars to the NIL fund and everything else, like I'm covering that for my school.
100%. 100%. Definitely worth it, especially for Vanderbilt.
Yep. Does Notre Dame miss out a little bit since there's basically no win that would ever justify tearing down the goalposts other than winning a national championship? Like the degree to which Notre Dame fans, students, whoever get to celebrate, does Notre Dame miss out on that a little bit?
Tearing down the goalposts, maybe. I mean, I was at the 22 Clemson game when they stormed the field. I was at I was at last year's USC game. They stormed the field then too. So yes, it's tough, right? Because Notre Dame is, with them being in like that upper echelon of college football, they are the team where if they get upset, then the opposing team is tearing down goalposts. So, missing out kind of, but it's the same thing with like the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Ohio States of the world. Like there's not really a whole lot of wins that justify that.
And that's my point. Yeah. Like you're in that echelon where you're never going to, you're never going to, your pro, I guess that's good because you're expected to win, but you're never going to be, we're going to tear the goalpost down kind of program.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if it's something to where, if Notre Dame makes it into the college football playoffs and they're playing like a Texas or an Alabama at home or something, and, Notre Dame gets to win at home, maybe first ever home playoff game, I could see it, but who knows?
Brent threw this question in a little bit ago. He asked who the better coach is between Marcus Freeman, Kyle Shanahan of the 49ers, or the head coach in Dallas, Mike McCarthy. I mean, all respect to Marcus Freeman, but this is pretty simple to me. Kyle Shanahan has been in 2 Super Bowls with the 49ers. The man is an offensive genius. Like the way he can scheme and actually turn Mr. Irrelevant into, like an MVP conversation quarterback. I just had to get that little shot in there at you, Brent. But I mean, like the way he can scheme that offense, and like McCarthy, Dallas is still so undisciplined. They're so careless with the football. They are so soft down in the trenches. All respect, of course, to my guy Zach Martin, who of course I love, but like this might be his last year, and they've wasted his career. Marcus Freeman is somewhere in the middle. He's still learning. I mean, McCarthy has won a Super Bowl, obviously, but he also had a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, and they essentially caught lightning in a bottle when they did that as a wild card team. But I would go Shanahan. I would put Freeman second. I am not satisfied with Mike McCarthy right now because if you're a Notre Dame fan and you think that there are issues with Notre Dame's offense, watch the Dallas Cowboys offense 3 weeks in a row and tell me what you think about that, because I don't even want to go there. right now because I'm so frustrated. Like the Steelers I can forgive a little bit because at least the Steelers are a good defensive team. They struggled offensively against the New York Giants a couple of weeks ago. They are like, it is a major issue for them to score any points. So Shanahan's at the top of that list for sure, Brent.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm with you, Sean.
Salty also talking about Maris Leofel looking good for Dallas last night. Yeah, he did have a nice punch out on that third down on the receiver. It was definitely highlight worthy. Yeah, he's playing fast, arrives with some violence. He's gotten better. He started off a little slow, but he's a rookie. He's looking good. He's been pretty impressive so far. We haven't seen like any of the, like major, kind of over aggressive kind of mistakes, I guess you'd say, that we saw. Like you'll see one from time to time, but I think he's playing really well. You can see what Zimmer liked about him when they decided they were going to draft him.
Yeah.
Speaking of that game last night, Steelers Cowboys, fill in the blank. Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin with this quote after losing to Dallas last night. Quote, "There's a fine line between drinking wine and smashing grapes is blank."
Interesting. I mean, I think I get what he was trying to say with that one. How it pertains to his team, I'm not entirely too sure.
I mean, this is another T-shirt slogan for me. I had never heard anyone say there's a fine line between drinking wine and smashing grapes. It was a pretty good one. I don't know if he came up with that on his own.
He might have. I would have understood if he said like there's a fine line between drinking wine and tasting wine, but I mean that like smashing grapes and drinking wine, like those are just two completely different steps in the process when it comes to wine.
See, that's like the first thing that I thought of. It's like, well, smashing grapes is the first step in the process, or I guess maybe the second after you pull the grapes off the vine. I don't know, but yeah. I guess he's saying one is labor and one is enjoy.
Maybe he's trying to say that like there's a fine line between like putting the work in and then like enjoying the work that you put in. But I don't know. Mike Tomlin is full of just kind of iconic one-liners throughout the years. I think he was trying to throw in another one, but I have no idea what that was supposed to mean.
Yeah, this is a good point, Tom. He says Justin Field has 0 touch on his passes. I mean, it's the same thing as when he was with the Chicago Bears. I've watched more. I watched more of Justin Fields there than I would care to imagine. You saw some of the same stuff. Like he had some easy throws that he could make to his receivers, and he's got a little bit bigger receivers. That was something I said when he was in Chicago. Like DJ Moore is a nice receiver, but they just needed someone a little bit big because it always, a little bit taller because it just seemed like Justin Fields was always overthrowing those guys, but he's still overthrowing guys in Pittsburgh. Like if, like we talk about making layups, if Justin Fields could have hit a few more layups last night, we'd probably be talking about a different outcome than what they had. But that's exactly it. Fields is just like, there's so much raw talent there, and he had been playing better the first few games for the Steelers since moving over there, but there is 0 touch on those balls. I agree, Tom.
Yeah, 100%. He had some of those same issues at Ohio State as well, but he had a really, really good receiving core that helped him out.
Yep, absolutely. All right, well, that is going to do it for tonight. Appreciate you being here. Let it go to input in the chat. Tonight, we will be back, of course, tomorrow. Vincenzo will be in, and got some interesting things that we'll be going over on tomorrow's show with Vince. We'll get into Stanford a little bit and a couple other topics that we will get into as well. Trevor, enjoyed it as always. I think this is show number 3 for us together. Yep. At some point, we'll just forget how many there are, and we'll just sing Kumbaya together. You and Brian tomorrow afternoon, is that right?
Yep. Brian and I will be on tomorrow at 1 to talk about the Notre Dame Stanford preview.
All right, sounds good to me. We will talk to you tomorrow. Hit the like button if you would before you leave. Yep, that's right. Exactly right, Andre. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Oh, and by the way, If you missed it last week, we got the exclusive IB interview that I had with Notre Dame women's basketball coach Niele Ivey. You can find that either on our YouTube channel or, of course, your podcast platforms as well. As you scroll back, we posted that on Thursday, so you can find that in your feed, whether it's YouTube or your podcast. You can find that interview with Niele Ivey as that season is coming up very soon. Basketball is on the way. You're going to be doing some men's basketball coverage, I understand, this year.
Yes, sir. I'm excited for it.
All right. Looking forward to that. All right. Hit that like button, and we will talk to you tomorrow. IB Nation Sports Talk.